chosen what I thought was the stillest day so far this year. To walk up Carn Brea again. Down in the village there's just a gentle breeze and the sound of a strimmer. Just a gentle breeze. So we'll see how that translates as I get up to the top of the hill, where you usually can't hear me because of the sound of the wind. Beard lichen is still very visible, even though there's plenty of leaves on the trees, although I was looking for it, so. Lots of lovely honeysuckle out. Smells amazing. Every time I make one of these videos, I'm conscious of the idea that no matter how hard I try, I can't control it. I can't control the things in my environment. There seems to be a cacophony of strimmers today. Instead of the wind, we've got strimmers. Breaking up the peace and tranquility. Oh well. So these videos have become a kind of reminder to me that I can't control everything. I do like to control things in my life, and the older I get, the more I realise I actually can't do that. So I'm trying to accept what is a little bit more, and these videos have helped me to do that. Because sometimes I don't have the time to refilm them, so I just have to go with whatever is available to me. First time I've seen the crocosmia in flower. I think they are out in flower in other places, but it's the first time I've really noticed it. It isn't a native plant. I've mentioned before it's a garden escapee, and it's a bit of a problem in some parts of Cornwall because it blocks out the light and prevents the native species from thriving. Pretty in gardens, but not really in the wild. And the same really for buddleia, although highly beneficial to butterflies, insects who love it. There is a discussion about whether it's actually a good idea to plant things like that, because it could potentially prevent those species from pollinating our native flowers. I'm not sure how deep that study went, but there's always a consequence to any action. You can probably hear the distant church bells. The church is called St Uni, spelt E-U-N-Y. And over in the far distance you can see a hill, and that's called St Agnes Beacon, and it's a bit purpley at the moment because it'll be covered in heather. It's quite a spectacle actually. I must make a mental note to get up there in the next week or so. You can see patches of, or I can see patches of heather around the engine houses over there as well. I've spoken before about the bracken here on Carn Brea, and generally it's a great plant to print with, and it's kind of good that we reduce it a little bit. It's really encroaching on the paths here. It's quite difficult to see some of the paths at this time of year because they're so overgrown. Just a bit of heather. Lots of insects around. I think it must be a wedding at the church. But I'm about halfway up the hill now, so I just thought I'd show you how different it is with the bracken so high. Lots of ragwort around at the moment, and full of insects. You can see the value of it. It used to be cut down a lot because it's very poisonous to animals, but it's left in most places now where particularly cattle and horses aren't grazing. Getting closer to Carn Brea Castle. Just thought I'd do a little bit of a panorama. It's a steep climb on a hot day and I'm a bit out of breath, but I wanted to show you the changes in the landscape since the last time I was up here. You can see where the engine houses are there, and there's a bit of a purple cast to the fields where the heather is growing. You can actually see the church down in the valley there now. Somebody's happy day. And the town spreading out behind it is Redruth. And St Agnes Beacon just over the top there now. Up at the castle now. It's quite difficult to see the landscape. You can probably just see a white ball. It's a radar transmitter, I think, over at an airfield. There's St Agnes Beacon and the town of Redruth. You can maybe see some windmills in the distance there. I'm not sure where they are actually. Towards Truro. And that patch of white on the hills in the far distance could well be towards St Austell, where they have China clay mining, but I'm not 100% certain. Coming back round to the mast, which is at 4 lanes, Count House down in the valley there, some old mine workings, smelting I think works. As I approach the monument, there is a breeze, so I hope you can hear me. It's not quite the gale that it was last time I was here, but still there is a breeze. I'll do a panorama from the top again, but again I might not be that audible. The last time I actually used a microphone to try and reduce the sound, but it didn't really help at all, so I may need to get a better microphone. You can't see the roundhouses. That's the entrance to one of the roundhouses, but you can just pick out one of the stones there, but they're completely covered in vegetation now. I made it up to the monument. There's a pair of pigeons. All the way up. You probably can see the inscription on the side that says, "The County of Cornwall to the memory of Francis Lord Dunsterville and Basset." I can't read the date from where I stood, there's grass in the way. 1836. Walking down towards the other end of the hill. You can see again the heather colouring the landscape ahead of me. thought they probably wouldn't want to listen to me. But there is the monument. And there's St Agnes Beacon. And round to the radar thing at near Portreath, across the North Cliffs. I don't always do this part of the walk because it's just a there and back. It's not part of a circular. I only go to the end of it and then return again. But at this time of year, it's such a rich tapestry of colour. It's so gorgeous. The gorse is out I think it's every month the gorse is out. There's different varieties of gorse, but there's a gorse out in every month. And they say when the gorse is out, it's always the season for kissing. So, but I love the colour of this grass against the. This grass has got a particularly lovely, warm ochre colour, combined with the heather and the gorse, and the green of the gorse and the bracken as well. And as it turns to that golden colour, it shows me that the season is starting to change. This bit is particularly rich. And you can see actually the effect of the bracken, because here there isn't very much bracken. And where the bracken thickens, the heather reduces, so not that we'd want to eradicate bracken, but there's no I believe it used to be a woodland plant, and this area would probably have been heavily wooded at one point in its history. So it would have had the canopy of the woods to compete with. When the trees were chopped down, probably for the mining industry, maybe for shipbuilding, it no longer had any competition, and nothing really grazes up here, or nothing grazes up here at all, so there's nothing to keep it back, so it just has free rein. I'm just going to get up on top of this little outcrop. This particular one is supposed to look like a bird. So I'm going to do a panorama now and try and point out some of the landmarks, but it is quite windy because I'm stood up on top of a rock. So there's the Basset Monument, coming around to St Agnes Beacon. You can just see the sea, although it's quite misty out in the distance away. Round towards Hayle, and then St Ives is sticking out at the end. And the town over there is Camborne. This part of the path, I'm heading back down the hill now, this part of the path is where I was fascinated by the moss the bright green moss on the walls in the winter. You can't see the walls at the moment because of the bracken, but I'm surrounded by bracken, but I'm also surrounded by lots of insects and butterflies, and it's not that bracken isn't beneficial, it is, it's just that there's so much of it. I seem to be very sort of down on bracken at the moment, but actually it gives us these, it's an amazing plant, it's an amazing robust plant, and it takes a lot to eradicate it. It's virtually impossible to eradicate, and you can see I can't even see the path now. It's so it grows so quickly and so densely, but it is also very beneficial to wildlife, to insects, and ultimately dies back every year, rots down, makes soil. So it definitely has its benefits. And turns beautiful colours. This little bit, for some reason, is turning already. There is quite a bit of it that's turning colour now down here. It must be probably because it's quite dry, because it's in the hedge bank. Thank you very much for joining me on this walk. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I've rambled on a little bit in this one, so if you prefer I stayed quiet, then do let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time. Thank you.